So I left off before the pickup went into paint. I don't remember if I had the doors done or not, but anyways, we got it all re-cleared. Turned out really good. Went with, what was it? I think it was, I don't know, PPG products, like a 2021 clear. That's what my brother recommended, so that's what we went with. Quite a bit more expensive, but it's worth it. Had a few runs in some spots, but got them all buffed out and it turned out good. Good enough for a daily driver. So after I got it out of paint, the first thing I did was I assembled my doors. Got them all assembled virtually. Put some sound deadener in there. I actually wired in electronic lock solenoids. So I have a key fob and I can unlock my doors just like a newer pickup, which is going to be very nice. Started the wiring process. I'm virtually done. I got to make up some battery cables and stuff like that, but basically everything's done. I had the dash in here, got all the wires where they need to go. I'm basically just waiting on a AC system, which sits in here. It's going to be very tight, but I got to get that. So I'll have to drill a couple of holes in the firewall to run some AC hose through. But basically it's all wired. All new weather stripping, even in here, which was a pain, but I got it done. I didn't put new glass in. This glass wasn't bad. I'm gonna have to, there's a few small scratch marks and some overspray from a previous paint job, so I think you can kind of see that in the light right there. Yeah, did a crappy job of masking off whoever it was. So I'll buff those out. Brand new rear window. I went with no slider because all that does is cause leaks and rattles, and I don't really need it. We have them in every other pickup and I never use them, so I didn't get one. And got the windshield, new windshield sitting here. I just gotta have a couple people to help me put it in. Got my gauges. These gauges are Speed Hut. I found them online and decided to go with them. They're nothing fancy, but they work. Electronic or GPS speedometer. That way I don't have to worry about a cable or trying to retrofit anything to the ZF5 or the rear end or anything like that. So pedals are all hooked up. Brake lines are all done. I got a couple Interstate Group 27 batteries. They're 810 cold cranking amps. Power steering hoses are all done. Basically, got to figure out a air filter system, and then I got a this flange. Some of the newer pickups came with, you unbolt this and you can put on a little deal, and it's got a little donut thing that goes in the downpipe. And that's a 4-inch downpipe that I got from a friend, so hopefully it'll work. I might have to do some fabricating to it, but basically that's it. I just finished up looming all the wire to the back. I think they gave me enough wire. I could virtually go probably back to the front of the pickup with it, but that's better than not having enough. So yeah, that's all the wiring virtually. I got to figure out a few of these. I'm not sure if they're keyed battery power or not. And then this one says gas gauge, and I had to run my own wiring for the gas because I have an aftermarket gas gauge. So I got those, but I need a positive wire. So I'm hoping either one of these will work for that. I went with an American Auto Wire wiring harness because I got it on sale for a steal compared to what they want for them. So they are very expensive, but there is quite a bit I didn't use just because I went with a lot of aftermarket stuff, and you know, I got a Cummins in it instead of a gas Ford engine, so there's a lot I didn't use. But if I were to go back, I might look a little harder into the just a general or like a universal wiring harness, because it might have been a little bit cheaper and I could have just had what I needed. But I tied all the wires back. I didn't cut anything off too much, so that way if I ever do go back to a Ford or a, you know, a gas engine, that I do have those wires there, or if I want to go back to stock gauges, I got all those wires. But not saying this pickup ever will, but I basically built this thing so it could go back, so that way people don't get all pissed off because I cut up a pickup, because I didn't really cut it up. The only thing I had to really modify was the front cross member, and that's not too big of a deal. But Champion radiator, you know, pretty straightforward. After I get the battery cables made, we actually had another Ford, because these pickups usually don't come with a driver's side battery box, but we had another pickup on the farm that I think Camper Specials or one optioned pickup came with a battery box on the driver's side, so they're kind of rare. But we had one on the farm and it like virtually never had a battery in it, so it wasn't all rusted out. I sandblasted the rust off and painted that, and I ended up getting a brand new battery box for the passenger side because it was completely rusted out, just like every other battery box of this vintage, and that was only like 20 or 30 bucks, so it wasn't too bad. Got my heater blower motor all wired in. I just got to, everything's pretty much loomed. I don't know how much more wiring loom I'm going to use, but I got enough to finish everything. But I went with 2/0 battery cable because bigger is better, and I don't think I'll ever have problems with that. But got to get the dash painted. And then when the AC system gets here, I'll have to cut a hole here and here for the vents. This will be the left side vent here. I ordered this piece with that vent, so it'll work. I had to cut out a hole for my stereo there, which was kind of nerve-wracking because this piece of plastic was pretty expensive for what it was. I think you get them in black or this carbon fiber. I think they're, I don't remember. I think it's classic dash. I don't know. It works for what it is. It's very expensive, but I could have made. My whole plan was to make a custom gauge cluster to hold it all, and then I was going to use the stock, you know, trim piece to go around it. But I never ended up doing that because time, you know, even though I've had this thing for like 2 years now, but I didn't want to spend the time to make that. And this looked pretty good, so I went with that. I'll have to, I got a 2-wheel drive cover, so it doesn't have any holes in it, or an automatic 2-wheel drive, so it doesn't have any holes in it. So I'm going to pull that out of another pickup and start cutting my holes for that. I ended up getting all my 4-wheel drive linkage is hooked up, which worked out pretty well. Let's see if I can get it. What's that? Here's the light. So basically, this is what I did. This piece, the shifter, is actually stock Ford, or the stock one out of this pickup, so it bolted in just fine into this hole on the ZF5 transmission. And then I just got some ready rod and a couple Heim joints and basically made a link from here to here. And or actually I started with it with this end up here, but it basically had no throw. Like, you'd move the handle just a little bit and you were clicking through the gears. So I added a piece of strap metal on, and that way I got a little bit more throw, and it works a lot better now. But virtually, and that's it. Under here, all my wirings ran, fuel pump. Basically, just got to splice ends onto the fuel pump wiring once I get a battery. The battery connection's all done up where I want. And then, you know, my shifter is under there. Kind of see it, maybe. That's the shifter location, and it comes out. I actually heated this up right here, my 4-wheel drive shifter, and bent it just a little bit. That way it could clear this, because it's kind of close in here. But once I get my seats in here and see where the shifter ends up, I might end up building my own shifter, but we'll see about that. But clutch works, brakes hooked up, so all I gotta do is bleed those. Throttles all good. This is the controller for the electric solenoids for the door locks, but it's pretty cool system. I wired it in, and then I just hooked a battery up to it to see if it would work, and it worked really good. And I stood, you know, all the way across the shop, and it was still locking and unlocking, so it's got decent range. Here's a little key fob. I ended up ordering it from I think it was LMC Truck, if I'm not mistaken. But they were a little bit more expensive. I actually found virtually the same kit on Amazon for quite a bit less. So if I was you guys, I would just go there. They're not expensive. I think it was like $50 for that setup, and on Amazon it might have been like 20 or 30 bucks. So, you know, here's it's my GPS antenna. I gotta figure out a place to put that. They gave me like 50 feet worth of wire, so I can go wherever I want. I don't want it outside, but they don't want it going through metal. So I was just gonna try to hide it down here somewhere. I don't know. I ordered wheels and tires, so the pickup, I went with 37, so the pickup will go, you know, will be up quite a bit higher. So you probably won't see this thing just walking beside it. So, but I didn't go super crazy on the wheels. I went with like it's basically, they're black wheels. They're like a really dark gray, silver gray kind of, so they'll match good. But basically get the battery cables made up, get the fenders on, the front grille, and I have to weld a couple tabs onto the intercooler. That'll be done, and I think I got enough room to fit a AC condenser in between the radiator and the intercooler. But all my intercooler piping is made up. So we're getting closer, and then hopefully I can get the once I get all the front end, and hopefully I can get it running. And then once I get it running and everything, pretty much everything up here will be buttoned up, then I can get the flatbed in here and get it wired. I got a little bit of fabrication, got to make mounts for the bed, and then wire it and pull it off and paint it. And then the pickup's pretty much ready to go. All the weather stripping is in. I gotta adjust doors and stuff. They're all squeaky. I mean, we basically just threw them on so they didn't get messed up sitting in the shop. So